Welcome to this Come to Jesus daily devotional, which I post on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday as we today finish our stewardship series. And today's devotion is entitled Stewards, Prioritise the Eternally Significant. This week, the last in this series, we're reflecting on the promise of reward for faithful stewardship. And today our theme is that a good steward weighs the eternal value of daily choices in order to maximise their investment and reward in God's kingdom. Let's read 2 Timothy 4:7-8. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will reward to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. In the parable of the talents, we read that those who had been faithful in their stewardship were commended by the master returning, or Jesus returning, with these words, Matthew 25:21 and 23. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Wonderful words. So firstly, make the ultimate investment. Do you realise, I was looking at this the other day, that if you invested £100 in Amazon when it first went public in 1997, that investment will be worth roughly £276,000 today. And hindsight is a wonderful thing, right? Thankfully, God has let us in on a great deal, a great investment. He tells us ahead of time that we can invest in eternity and get a great return. We will be richly rewarded if we're good stewards of the things he gives to us. And sometimes people say something like this, and I guess I can think this: I don't serve God for rewards. I serve him purely out of love. Now, while that might sound like taking the spiritual high road, it actually overlooks the vital truth. God explicitly promises rewards for faithfulness. And we shouldn't discount Jesus' teaching on the promise of rewards. And we shouldn't overlook the great motivation it gives to us when we remember that we're rewarded. John Wesley wrote this: I judge all things only by the price they shall gain in eternity. Secondly, let's avoid building sandcastles in this passing world. Unfortunately, too many of us live as though we don't truly believe in eternal rewards. So we invest our lives entirely in this world, trying to maximise our returns for the short years, the short lives we have on this planet. And it's a tragic irony that we can be, even Christians, incredibly sharp and incredibly wise and astute when it comes to earthly investments, staggeringly short-sighted and ignorant, and poor when it comes to investing in eternity. Think about building a sandcastle on a summer's day. You might spend hours building beautiful walls and towers, and maybe put a few stones for walls and things like that. You're really into it. You build a great thing, but don't you? The tide's coming in. It's going to wash it away. And our lives are way too valuable to be spent building sandcastles. As in metaphorical ones, to poorly steward our lives in such a way that when the tide comes in, when Jesus comes, it'll all be washed away and it doesn't count for anything. Thirdly, good stewardship frees us from dead works. Interestingly, a biblical understanding of stewardship doesn't just push us to do more, to be driven. It frees us to do less. When we recognise that we're simply to steward the time, talents and treasures, the callings, the opportunities that God gives us, we're liberated from the pressure of a bad conscience and from the pressure of others, because we serve God. And we're going to be rewarded for how we serve God, not how we serve a bad conscience and others, in the wrong way, I mean. Jesus said, I only do what I see my Father doing. And likewise, good stewards live to serve their Father rather than being driven by a guilty conscience or fear or worry, the relentless demands of others. Fourthly, let's learn from the shrewd manager. The shrewd manager. An interesting story, parable in the Gospel of Luke. Jesus tells this fascinating parable of the shrewd manager, and it's worth reading Luke 16, 1-4. It's worth reading in full that story. It's an interesting story, but what's the point of it? Well, the manager in that story was dishonest. But Jesus is highlighting a specific trait, a specific idea, that the shrewd manager was incredibly clever at using his current resources to secure his future comfort. The shrewd manager knew exactly how to navigate the systems of this world to get a great return in this world. In the same way, Jesus uses him because we're to be like him in this sense. We're to be shrewd managers in the kingdom of God. We need to know how to invest well in order to store up treasure, eternal treasure in heaven. We need to understand how to yield a real and lasting harvest. In response, a good steward weighs the eternal value of daily choices to maximize their investment in God's kingdom and rewards. Are we like the shrewd manager, investing our resources wisely, but for the sake of God's kingdom and reward? Or are we wasting our time, talents, and treasures that God's entrusted to us by scattering them selfishly on temporary things? Are we walking in the liberating freedom of stewardship by prayerfully saying no to merely good things, so we can say a wholehearted yes to God's will, God's call? Let's wrap up our brief series on this important subject of stewardship. I hope you found it helpful with a quote from Randy Alcorn. Quote, 2 men owned farms side by side. One was a bitter atheist, the other a devout Christian, constantly annoyed at the Christian for his trust in God. The atheist said to him one winter, let's plant our crops as usual this spring, each the same number of acres. You pray to your God and I'll curse him. Then come October, let's see who has the bigger crop. Well, when October came, the atheist was delighted because his crop was larger. See, you fool, he taunted. What do you have to say for your God now? My God, replied the other farmer, doesn't settle all his accounts in October. Jesus is coming. We've got this life to invest, the time, talents, and treasures that he's given to us. We've got the joy of investing those things well. But let's do so knowing, understanding that it pleases him when we serve him. Secondly, it brings us joy when we live according to the purpose and the design of God. And finally, know this, brothers and sisters, you will be rewarded for your faithfulness. God bless you.